guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a hot minute, it's actually been an entire year, but here we are, we're back again, and today's video is on the biggest fat loss mistakes that you are making. So it's been a whole year, I've been very busy. My hubby and I had a beautiful little girl, Mia. She's now 3 months old, and so we're sort of decided now's the time to jump back into YouTube videos. So this is a highly requested topic. I think a lot of people are aiming for weight loss. Obviously I really hope the healthy way, but there are a lot of mistakes that I see my clients and also a lot of people on social media making. So I'm going to give you 7 hot tips today that are what I see my clients making in terms of mistakes when they really try to achieve that fat loss or that weight loss journey. So let me first start off by saying that weight loss is different to fat loss. I like to say fat loss because when you jump on the scale and the scale goes down, generally it's composed of 3 components. It can be muscle mass loss, which is not ideal. It can be fat mass loss, which if the goal is fat loss, that's ideal. And it can also be water weight or hormone fluctuations, which is sort of here and all there. Like, we're always going to have some water weight shifts on the scale, and that's perfectly okay. But what the goal should be in a fat loss journey is to actually just lose fat mass, not muscle mass. We actually want to retain our muscle mass. So mistake number 1 that a lot of people make in their fat loss journey: healthy doesn't equal fat loss. What do I mean by this? So something can be wonderfully healthy for us, but unless it's in a calorie deficit, we're not going to lose fat. So the golden rule of fat loss is that you need to eat in a calorie deficit. You need to be eating underneath the calories that your body requires. Basically, if you're eating the calories that your body requires, you are at maintenance and your weight will remain the same. If you're eating above those calories, you're in a surplus and you will start gaining weight. If you eat below what your body requires, that is a calorie deficit. That is what you require for weight loss. So as an example, if you have, I don't know, a big iced coffee with like cream and ice cream on it, plus a croissant for breakfast, and you swap that to a skinny flat white with avocado on toast, and the avocado on toast is drizzled with some lovely olive oil and some sprinkled with nuts and seeds and feta. Those 2 meals could actually be the same calories, even though one, obviously the avocado on toast, is a whole lot healthier. It's healthier, it's better nutritionally. I'm not saying that it's not, it's absolutely a better choice, but if it's not in a calorie deficit for you, you won't lose weight. So just because something's healthy doesn't mean you'll necessarily lose weight. And what I see with a lot of clients is them saying to me, Leanne, I've made so many wonderful changes to my diet, I've done all of these great things, my weight or the scale doesn't move at all. So what you've done is you've replaced a lot of the unhealthy things you were eating with better options or healthier options. And that's amazing from a health perspective. Congratulations to you. I don't want to take anything away from it, that's great. But for the goal of fat loss, it needs to be in a calorie deficit. So say as an example, your afternoon tea, you normally have a chocolate bar, and you swap that chocolate bar to some full fat Greek yogurt and some granola. Is that a better choice than a chocolate bar? Absolutely. If it's still too big a portion, or if it's more calories than what the chocolate bar had, or the similar calories than what the chocolate bar had, you're not going to drop fat mass. So that's the first golden rule. It has to be in a calorie deficit, and just because something's healthy doesn't actually mean it will promote weight loss. Fat loss mistake number 2, you've calculated your deficit incorrectly. So we just said in the first one, you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. How do you know what a calorie deficit is? Well, there's very simple ways you can do this. You can either go and see a dietitian such as myself, and we can help you do this, or there are some simple tools and calculators online that allow you to calculate a calorie deficit. The problem with a lot of the online calendars I find is that they overestimate the energy expended. So basically when we're talking about a calorie deficit, we need the calories or the food going in and the energy going out. And a lot of times people are overestimating how much activity or exercise they're doing and underestimating how much they're actually really eating. So a big mistake I see is people think they're in a deficit, but they've actually done their calculations wrong, and what they're actually eating is at maintenance, and that's why they actually can't lose weight long term. Fat loss mistake number 3, you have put yourself in too big a calorie deficit. So I guess we live in a world where we want things fast, we want things instantly. You know, we want a date, we go on Tinder. We want food, we go on Uber Eats. We need a taxi, we go, on a rideshare app and we get it instantly. The problem with fat loss is that it takes time, and we need to be consistent over time. And the big mistake with fat loss is that people want it and they want it now. But bigger calorie deficits aren't necessarily better, or I'm actually going to say that they're not better at all. I preferred my clients to be in very small or at most moderate calorie deficit. So maybe say 10 to 15% of what their requirements are in terms of a deficit. Most people will be in too large of a deficit. What this means is that they're hungry all the time. It's really hard to sustain. They end up falling off the wagon, they eat a ton more, and at the end of the week or at the end of the day, they're far over their calories. They're actually at maintenance or they're in a surplus. Bigger deficits are not always better for fat loss. Sometimes it's better to do things small, slowly, but sustainably over time. So instead of aiming to lose the weight all in 6 weeks or all in 8 weeks, actually give yourself 6 months or 12 months, depending on the amount of weight loss you have to lose. Give yourself extra time to do that so your body can adjust and adapt metabolically over time as well. Fourth mistake I see people making when it comes to their fat loss journey, their calorie deficit is too mild to actually make a clinical impact. So just like you can be in too big a deficit where it's too hard to maintain, you end up cheating your diet and eating way more, you can actually be in too small of a deficit. And yes, any deficit should be good, but too small of a deficit won't be enough to actually make a clinical impact and actually get some fat loss off as well. So we really want your deficit to be at least 10%, but probably no more than about 20% as a maximum as well, because I feel like too much and you're too hungry, too little and you're really not sort of going to achieve fat loss either. Because a lot of the times that those little deficits, things creep in, we have little taste, licks, bites, all that sort of thing throughout the day, which is perfectly okay, but we want to give ourselves a bit of a buffer when it comes to a calorie deficit. So there is a fine balance between too big of a deficit and too little of a deficit as well. The fifth mistake I see people make when it comes to their fat loss journey is that they may need some medications to actually assist their fat loss journey, or they have particular conditions which are either impacting or hindering fat loss. So a big one is something like insulin resistance. So you're not, you don't have type 2 diabetes, but your doctor might have said to you, your sugars are quite elevated, your body is resistant to that insulin, and you may need to look at something for you're pre-diabetic, something like that. So a lot of times I've had a lot of clients who have needed to discuss with their doctor starting something like, as an example, a medication like metformin to help their body actually utilize some of that glucose that we're putting in each day. So if you're doing everything, quote unquote, right to lose weight, you're working with a professional, things just aren't moving, chat with your dietitian or chat with your doctor about potentially needing some sort of medication or further testing to see if there are any hormonal imbalances, there's any medications that we need to use, there's any conditions which may actually have a clinical impact on you actually losing weight. And lymphedema can be another one where people carry excess fat mass, and that, despite their best intentions, they might actually never be able to lose weight because of some of these clinical conditions as well. All right, guys, we've done 6 tips out of 7, 2 to go. The second last tip that I have for you guys is the reason that you're not losing weight is because you are tracking inaccurately. So a lot of people, when it comes to fat loss, they've calculated their deficit, they've done all the right things. They might use an app, say like MyFitnessPal, and they're tracking all their food. That all seems well and good, but guess what, guys? If you eat the brownie at morning tea, there's nothing wrong with the brownie. This is just an example. If you eat the brownie at morning tea, and as a dietitian, I know that that brownie is probably somewhere in the area of 250 to maybe 350 calories. If you go into something like MyFitnessPal, you search for brownie, and you're scrolling down the screen and you go, brownie, brownie, brownie. Ooh, that one's 400 calories. Ooh, that one's 500 calories. That one, ooh, that brownie's 50 calories. I'm going to pick that brownie. A lot of times we're picking and choosing items which aren't actually accurate. Or if we go out and we have a hamburger and chips, we might just type into MyFitnessPal hamburger and chips, and it's like one for a set of 500 calories. I know that if you went out and had a burger and chips at Grilled, that is likely well over 1,000 calories. There's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people are just underestimating the actual calories that they're eating and what they're tracking. They think they're tracking in a calorie deficit, but what they're tracking is actually quite inaccurate. And the final tip I have when it comes to fat loss mistakes is that you are not being consistent enough. Too many people will jump on and off the scale every day or every week, and when that scale doesn't go down or they don't see a number that they ideally want to see in their head, they go, what's the point? I'm going to quit. I'm giving up because I'm trying so hard. When it comes to fat loss, you have to be able to do what you're doing consistently. If you start a diet or a healthy lifestyle or do a new program and you can't see yourself doing this for at least 12 weeks, if not even 12 months, make it a long-term lifestyle change, not a quick fix or a fad diet. If you can't see yourself doing these behaviors long-term, I wouldn't even bother starting, because guess what? You're going to fail again eventually, and the weight's all going to come back on again. You need to be consistent. Now, consistent doesn't mean perfect. Consistent doesn't mean that you can't have an ice cream, you can't have a little bit of chocolate, or you can't go out for a burger and fries or a glass of wine with your friends. You absolutely can, but you can't do these things on a daily basis. And when you do go out and have those things, you can't completely blow out and go off the rails and be like, oh, well, the weekend's ruined, won't, I'll start again on Monday. Because guess what, guys? You're not actually going to achieve any fat loss at the end of the day. So the final tip is really around consistency. It is so important, and what so many people do is they're just doing something that's far too restrictive and they can't actually last long term with that. So really what I encourage you to do, of course you can have a couple of extra treats on the weekend, of course you can have a glass of wine with some girlfriends like I really enjoy doing, or you can have an ice cream with your kids, or you can have a bit of chocolate with your partner while watching a movie, but don't do the all or nothing type thinking where because you've had something bad, now you're off track and you've ruined your diet and you're going to continue on with those bad behaviors for the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend. What we really need is you have a little treat, no problem, just get back up and continue on with that. You've got to be consistent with your behaviors or you're never going to get those results long term. So these were my 7 fat loss tips. I really hope that they've been helpful for you guys. I have an evidence-based fat loss webinar, which is available on my website, leanneward.com.au. If you search for webinars, you will find that has so many more golden tips in there. I teach you how to do things like calculate your calories and your macros. And I also teach you, if you don't want to do that, you're too busy, you don't care. If you just want to learn to listen to and nourish your body, I give you some really simple formula and tips in that webinar as well. So you can basically choose between the two. If you want to be a little bit more prescriptive with your fat loss, I'll teach you how to do that. And if you want to be a little bit more gentle with your nutrition but still achieve the goals of fat loss, I teach you how to do that in that evidence-based fat loss webinar as well. So of course I have my 2 podcasts. We've got the Leanne Ward Nutrition podcast. On that podcast I interview experts all around the world and there are plenty of episodes around fat loss. And I've also got my new podcast which is called the Nutrition Couch, which I run with a colleague of mine and other Australian-based dietitian Susie Barrell. So on that podcast again we give you all of our fat loss tips. So please go and check out our free podcast as well. And if you enjoyed this video and you have any other topics that you guys would like me to chat about on my channel, I'm going to say new channel because it's been a whole year and look, we're coming back and we're doing new videos. So if you guys want any new videos on my new channel from me, please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of this video and also topics for future videos. I will catch you guys next time and don't forget to subscribe.